Hey there, and welcome to Family Revenge. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay with us for every twist and turn. Let's jump right in. It came in one of those heavy cream-colored envelopes with gold trim, the kind that smells like expensive perfume and bad intentions. I almost tossed it straight in the trash, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a formal invitation to my father's retirement party. Upscale winery, black tie optional, hosted by Janice, of course. I hadn't seen my family in almost a year, not since the last forced holiday dinner, where I sat next to the coat rack and Janice made a toast about raising the bar for the next generation while staring directly at me. My name's Rachel. I'm 37. I live just outside Sacramento. I run a construction company, commercial work, government contracts, the whole nine yards. It started as a one-woman drywall hustle. Now I've got 40 full-time employees and a multi-million-dollar book of business. But to my family, I'm still the one who never went to college, the one with dirty hands and boots in the mud. Janice never said it outright, but it was always clear. I was less than. Her kids, my half-siblings, all went to college out of state on Dad's dime. They bounced between nonprofit jobs and extended sabbaticals in Europe. Meanwhile, I was laying tile and pulling overtime to keep my business alive in the early years. None of them ever asked how I was doing. They just assumed I was broken bitter. And maybe I was for a while, but not anymore. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that last quarter, my company cleared close to $700,000 in profit. I had two city projects in motion, a school build coming up, and a highway bid waiting approval. And still, I hadn't heard a word from any of them since January. So getting this invitation now, it felt more like a performance than a welcome, like Janice needed to check a box. Still, I stared at that card longer than I should have. Something about it bugged me. I wasn't going because I missed them. I damn sure wasn't going out of obligation. But I wanted to see their faces. I wanted to walk into that fancy winery and remind them I existed, and that I wasn't the same girl they used to side-eye at Thanksgiving. I set the invitation down, walked to the fridge, grabbed a water bottle, and muttered, "All right then, time to show up." I pulled up to the winery in my work truck, a dusty gray F-250 with old receipts jammed in the cup holders and a ladder rack still bolted to the bed. I didn't even bother glancing toward the valet stand. No way in hell I was letting some 19-year-old in a bow tie stall it between a Beamer and a Lexus. I parked way off to the side, behind a row of oak trees, where the gravel lot met a patch of dirt. The truck stood out like a sore thumb. Good. I had on clean jeans, a tucked-in navy blouse, and my steel-toe boots. Wiped down, no mud, but still what they were. I didn't dress to impress. I dressed like myself. The place was buzzing. Guests spilled out from the patio, champagne flutes in hand, laughing like everyone already knew they belonged. I recognized a few faces, neighbors from back in the day, Dad's old coworkers, a couple of Janice's yoga friends, who used to pretend not to see me at the grocery store. I walked up the main path, nodding politely, straight-backed, not slowing down. People glanced at me like I might be lost. Inside, the tasting room had been converted into a reception hall. Soft jazz, white linens, table numbers on stands. Janice was holding court near the bar, surrounded by her perfectly styled daughters and a couple of bored husbands in sport coats. The second she saw me, her expression tightened, then stretched into a wide, sugary smile. "Rachel," she said, walking over with open arms like we'd ever hugged in our lives. "You made it!" I sidestepped the embrace and gave a stiff smile. Wouldn't miss it. She did that thing where she looked me up and down, but tried to act like she wasn't. "Oh, so casual," she said, voice light but loaded. "I love that you're staying true to your roots." I didn't respond, just looked her dead in the eye. She cleared her throat and glanced toward the check-in table. "I think the hostess will show you where you're seated. It's a special arrangement." The girl at the guest list looked about 20, nervous, flipping through her clipboard. Name? Rachel Collins? She scanned the pages, frowned, checked again, then again. "I don't see you under the main list. Let me check with—" Janice stepped in with that fake concern all over her face. "Oh, she's on the alternate. I told them earlier. We have a spot set up just for her. It's all taken care of." The hostess looked unsure. "Oh, okay, just one moment." She motioned to a nearby server, whispered something, and the server gave a small nod before turning to me. "Right this way, ma'am." I didn't say a word. I just followed, jaw clenched. The hallway past the dining room narrowed. We slipped behind a set of swinging kitchen doors. The noise of the party faded, replaced by clanging pans and the smell of garlic and wine sauce. The server looked back once, almost apologetically, but kept going. Something was off. Then we turned left, away from the food line. And I saw it. A narrow door marked, "Staff Only." He opened it. My stomach dropped. But I kept walking. The server pushed open the door and I stepped inside. It wasn't a side room. It wasn't overflow. It was a damn storage closet. Metal shelves lined the walls, stacked with linen bins, plastic-wrapped chairs, and boxes of wine bottles. One folding table had been shoved into the center of the cramped space, draped with a wrinkled white cloth and a single chair. No centerpiece, no name card, just a cloth napkin and a plain glass of water. No mistake, no accident. This was done on purpose. I stood there for a second, taking it in. My boots were silent on the concrete floor. The hum of a walk-in fridge buzzed behind the wall. Somewhere back through the kitchen, I could still hear the faint sound of music and clinking glasses. The server cleared his throat. "Here you go, ma'am. I'll let the kitchen know you're ready." I gave a tight nod. "Thanks." He left like he was fleeing a crime scene. I sat down slowly, elbows on the table, fists clenched in my lap, my jaw locked. I stared at the wall straight ahead, at a crooked poster that said, "Wine pairs well with laughter." I didn't need confirmation. This was Janice's work, her special arrangement. Keep me close enough to technically be invited, but far enough that no one would notice if I vanished. Footsteps came back a few minutes later, a different server this time, a woman maybe in her 40s. She didn't say much, just set down a plate of food and a wine glass, both plain, both mismatched from the rest of the place. Same menu, I guessed. Salmon, asparagus, little pile of rice molded into a fancy scoop, looked fine, but it was the kind of meal that came with conversation, with toasts, with laughter from across the table, not silence in a closet. She glanced at me, hesitated, then finally said, "Do you need anything else?" "Nope, I'm good." She looked like she wanted to say something more, but didn't. She just gave a quick nod and backed out. A couple bites in, I heard the door creak again. A young guy stepped in, maybe 18, skinny, hair too long for food service. He held a tray but set it down on the floor and looked at me. You family?" I didn't even flinch. "Yeah, unfortunately." He let out a quiet breath like he wasn't sure if he should laugh or apologize. "That's messed up," he muttered, then slipped back out. I sat there chewing my asparagus, stomach twisted but my hands steady. My chest burned, but I wasn't going to give Janice what she wanted. Me storming out, crying, proving her right. Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it from my pocket, still chewing, thumbed open the screen. Tina, assistant. Bid came through. Highway projects locked. Estimated profit, $1.2 million. Contract signed. Congrats, boss. I stared at the message for a second. Then I smiled. Not big, not dramatic. Just a slow, quiet curve of the mouth that didn't leave room for bitterness. Just facts. I typed back. "Send the bottle of Macallan to the city office team. Tell them it's from me." The text delivered, and I set my phone down. Took another bite of salmon. They thought I was nothing but a construction worker. They had no idea I was sitting in that closet after securing a 7-figure win before dessert. Let them serve me on plain plates. I was still the richest person in the building. I finished the last of the salmon while the hum of the cooler droned on behind me. Fork scraped the plate. Every bite tasted like pride swallowed whole. The deeper it sank in, the more I felt it. This wasn't a slip-up. This wasn't poor planning. Janice had made sure of this. She wanted me tucked away like the mop bucket in the corner. The napkin in my lap was already crumpled. I picked it up, wiped my mouth slow, deliberate. I'd lived through this exact feeling more times than I could count. 16 years old, standing in Janice's kitchen while she joked about my trade school dreams in front of her Pilates friends. 19, working weekends to pay for community college, while my stepbrother flew home for Thanksgiving in first class. 25, building out drywall in triple-digit heat while they posted poolside brunch photos with captions like, "Success looks good on us." 32, handing my dad a framed copy of my first government contract. He just nodded and changed the subject. I didn't expect a damn parade, but I deserved a seat at the table. Not a folding chair behind a storage rack. My phone buzzed again. "Tina, want me to prep the Monday proposals tonight or hold off?" I stared at it, heart thudding. Then I typed, slow and clear, "Send the Denali. Have it pick me up at the front entrance." I hit send. No more letting them define who I was. No more playing small just to keep the peace. They wanted to box me out? Fine. But I wasn't crawling out the back door. I reached for my water, finished it, then stood, rolled my sleeves up, and shook the tension out of my arms. There was no mirror, but I straightened my shirt anyway, checked my boots, ran my hands through my hair. My fingers trembled for half a second. Not fear. Focus. I walked to the door and opened it. The hallway outside was empty. The same server from earlier glanced up from the dish pit, startled. I gave him a nod, calm as ever, and kept walking. Back through the kitchen. Pans clanged, ovens roared, but I moved straight through the noise like I owned the place. I pushed through the double doors into the party. No one turned. Yet, the jazz still played, wine still flowed. They hadn't noticed the storm walking back into the room. But they would. I moved through the crowd without looking at anyone. I wasn't there to mingle. I had one stop to make. Near the back patio, a mic squealed lightly, and heads turned toward a small platform where my dad stood holding a glass of red. People clapped, smiling politely. Janice stood off to the side, both hands folded like she was waiting for a photographer to snap a shot. "I've been lucky," Dad was saying. 38 years with a company I love and a family that supported me through it all. More clapping. Someone whistled. Janice gave a stiff smile like the queen had just been praised. I waited until the noise dipped. Then I walked up, slow, steady, through the middle of the crowd. I saw his face twitch in confusion when he spotted me. I didn't stop to explain. Just stepped up onto the edge of the platform, leaned in, and gave him a hug. He hugged me back, a little awkward, like he wasn't sure what I was doing. "Congrats, Dad," I said right in his ear. "I'm heading out." He pulled back slightly. "Already?" "Yeah, just wanted to say goodbye in person." He blinked like he was about to say something else, but Janice was already moving. She came up behind me, that tight smile stretching thin as fishing wire. "Oh, Rachel," she said loudly enough for the front row to hear. "I hope the little space we arranged was comfortable. I wanted you to have something cozy, private." That stopped a couple conversations cold. I heard someone chuckle nervously nearby. Then a voice off to my right, a familiar one, said, "Wait, what do you mean by that?" I turned. It was Mr. Paulson, one of Dad's old coworkers from the insurance company. He looked confused, brows raised. Janice didn't flinch. "Oh, we just had a small table set aside, away from the crowd. For Rachel's comfort." "Near the kitchen," I added flatly. "Storage room, actually. Folding chair. Great ambiance." More people turned. Janice's smile didn't break, but her eyes narrowed, just a little. Then the sound of tires crunching on gravel cut through the air. Someone turned toward the front doors. Heads followed. A sleek black Denali pulled up, shining like it had just come off the lot. Company branding clear on the side. RC Contracting and Design in bold blue and gray. The back door popped open, and a uniformed driver stepped out. Pressed slacks, clean white shirt, company logo stitched on the chest. He walked around, opened the passenger door, and stood waiting. For me. The silence was deafening. "Whose car is that?" someone near the bar asked. I stepped off the platform and said, loud enough for the room to hear, "Mine." A pause. "Wait," the same man said. "That's your company?" Janice let out a half laugh. "She drives a work truck." I turned back toward her. "I own the company." That shut her up. Another voice, a woman by the wall, chimed in. "RC Contracting. Didn't you just finish that downtown tower?" I nodded. That was us. Now the murmurs picked up. I saw my stepbrother stiffen by the wine bar. My stepsister's mouth hung open slightly, frozen mid-sip. My dad looked at me like he'd never seen me before. I didn't stay long enough to watch it all settle in. I gave him a nod, then walked toward the front doors. Shoulders square, eyes forward, phones came out, I heard the shutter clicks. Someone said my name. I didn't stop. I stepped into the sunlight and slid into the back seat of my Denali like it was the only seat that had ever mattered. The Denali door shut behind me with that solid thunk you only get from weight, the kind of sound that turns heads whether you want it to or not. But I did. Through the tinted window, I could still see the entryway of the winery. My dad hadn't moved. He was standing stiff, blinking like the whole scene hadn't caught up to him yet. The crowd outside swelled with murmurs and stares. Half the guests were craning their necks now, trying to connect dots. The branded vehicle, the driver, me. Someone near the door asked again, louder this time. Wait, whose vehicle is that? The driver glanced back at me through the rear view. I rolled down the window halfway and leaned out just enough. Mine, I said. Company truck? That made the ripple hit harder. People turned to each other like they hadn't heard right. From behind the entry table, Janice let out a sharp scoff. She clutched her wine glass like she needed it to stand up straight. You drive a work truck, she called out. I met her eyes dead on. Number I own the company. She blinked, lips parting, no words ready. For once. A woman I didn't recognize, probably one of Dad's newer coworkers, stepped toward the car, pointing. RC Contracting? She asked. That was you? You're the one who just built that smart tower downtown. That was our team, I said. And the Westside Transit Center, and the new airport garage. Another guy near the valet, silver hair and thick glasses, added, that company was in Business Journal last month. Big piece on public works and sustainability. RC was front and center. Now faces were turning in waves. Whispers behind hands, people shifting out of Janice's orbit like she suddenly didn't smell right. I could see my stepbrother standing back by the bar, jaw tight, one hand half lifted like he wanted to do something but had no idea what. My stepsister clutched her little designer bag like someone might try to steal it. Dad finally took a few steps toward the front, moving slowly, as if he wasn't sure he was welcome on the scene anymore. Rachel, he said, voice low but audible, you never mentioned all this. I didn't answer him. Not right away. Instead, I reached over, grabbed the folder my driver had laid across the back seat earlier, flipped it open just long enough for Dad to see the top page. 3 sealed contracts and a check from the city's finance department. I held it up with 2 fingers. This is this week. We've got 9 more projects lined up before year-end. He stared at the paperwork like it was written in another language. Janice turned slightly, still holding that broken smile, but it didn't land. Everyone around her could feel it now. The shift. Why didn't you ever say anything? Dad asked again, like it wasn't his job to have asked in the first place. I let the folder drop onto the passenger seat. You never looked past the dirt on my boots. Dead silence. Even the music inside had faded out. No claps, no polite laughter, no attempt at recovery. Just the raw pause of people watching someone realize the narrative had flipped. I rolled the window back up, slow and smooth, then nodded to the driver. He turned without a word, walked to his door, and climbed in. And just like that, I watched the front of the winery, my stepfamily, their fake friends, and every last person who ever saw me as less, shrink behind tinted glass. But this time, they saw me, and none of them would ever forget it. The Denali rolled forward slow, just enough for me to catch the faces turning toward their phones. Screens lifted, cameras aimed. That dumb little branded logo on the side panel suddenly meant something. People snapped pics like I'd pulled up in a damn limo. No one said a word as we pulled away. Just the sound of tires over gravel and the clicks of phone cameras trying to grab their angle of the moment. I didn't look back. By the time we hit the freeway, Tina had already texted twice. You blew up. You seriously blew up, I called her. What's happening? You're trending on Facebook? People are posting pictures, saying the construction boss got hidden in the back at her own dad's party. She paused, then added, that's literally the caption, word for word. I sat back in the seat and stared at the ceiling. How bad is it? Oh, it's bad for them. You're fine. You actually picked up about 2,000 new followers in the last hour. Somebody posted a video of you walking out to the Denali with the line, she owns the damn company. It's catching fire. Jesus. Janice must be losing her mind. I didn't respond. Tina kept going. We also got 3 interview requests already. Local business blog, some construction magazine, and a national site that focuses on women in trades. Decline them all, I said. You sure? This could be... I don't need headlines, I need bids. That shut her up for a second. Then she laughed. Speaking of, you just got 2 new quote requests. One's from a brewery in Roseville, others a senior housing project in Reading. I nodded slowly. Good. Send the team info packs, priority scheduling if they're real. Copy that. I hung up. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Dad, can we talk? Then my stepsister. I didn't know they were putting you in the back. I swear my stepbrother chimed in after that. Can we clear the air? Even Janice, believe it or not. Hey, I think things got a little out of hand today. Let's talk soon? I read each message without reacting, deleted nothing, replied to none. They had all made their choices when no one was looking. Now that everyone was, they suddenly had something to say. Back at home, I walked into my kitchen, poured a glass of water, and stood at the window overlooking the gravel lot where my crew usually parked. One truck was still there. Bobby, one of my foremen, was finishing up inventory after hours. I watched him checking tool bins in the back of a trailer, boots on, shirt soaked with sweat. That was my world. The world I built from the dirt up, while Janice and her crew were off at wine tastings. And I wasn't trading it for theirs. I was still standing at the kitchen window, glass in hand, when my phone lit up again. Dad. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I picked up. Hey, he hesitated. Rachel, got a minute? You're on. I wanted to call earlier, just didn't know if you'd pick up. You guessed right. Another pause, then he launched into it like he was reading off a damn script. Look, about what happened earlier, I think there was a misunderstanding. Janice didn't mean to make you feel. I cut him off. I was in a storage room, Dad. His breath caught. Well, I mean, there were a lot of guests. Space was tight, and Janice thought maybe you'd want a folding chair and a wall of mop buckets. That what she thought I'd want? He didn't answer. I could hear the clink of ice in his glass. Probably nursing a scotch while pacing around their picture-perfect living room, trying to patch this up without admitting what it really was. She told people it was a cozy setup, I added. Tried to sell it like it was some boutique experience. Dad, come on. She was trying to keep things organized, Rach. It was a big guest list. No, I said flat. She was trying to keep me out of sight. He didn't fight that one, just went quiet. I gave it a few seconds, then said, You've let this happen for years. The digs, the little comments, the way her kids always got front row treatment while I was background noise. I stayed quiet to keep the peace, but I'm not swallowing it anymore. I never meant for you to feel left out, he mumbled, but you let it happen. That's the same thing. Another pause, longer this time. I guess I didn't realize how much you've built, he finally said. You were always so under the radar. I let that sit. I wasn't hiding, I said. You just weren't looking. He sighed. Rachel, look, I'm proud of you. I really am. I just wish things hadn't gone down like that. Yeah, well, so do I. I don't know what to say here. I didn't expect it, any of it. That's because you've been looking at me like I'm the same kid from 20 years ago, still fixing drywall and chasing invoices. But I run crews. I hire engineers. I make decisions that shift city timelines. That storage room didn't shrink me. It just showed everyone else how small you made me look. He didn't argue. He couldn't. You don't have to fix it, I added. Just stop pretending it didn't happen. The silence on his end finally felt real. No ice clinks, no weak excuses, just quiet. Then he said, voice low, All right, I hear you. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. Good. Then I hung up. I hadn't even set the phone down for 5 minutes when it buzzed again. Mom, I let out a breath and answered. Hey, sweetheart, she said. No small talk, no warm-up. I just got off the phone with Dana. She was at the party. What the hell happened? Depends what Dana told you. She said they stuck you in the back like some kind of outsider. Is that true? In a storage room, with a folding chair and a wrinkled tablecloth. So yeah, it's true. I could hear her inhale sharply. Jesus, Rachel, I had no idea they'd been doing this to you. I walked to the kitchen sink, stared out the window again. Bobby's truck was gone now, just gravel and dust and my reflection in the glass. It's not new, Mom, I said. This has been going on. The comments, the way I'm always seated last, treated like I'm tagging along. This one just finally went public. She didn't argue or try to fix it. She just let me talk. That was her style, always had been. I knew Janice didn't like you, she said finally, but I didn't know it was this bad. I swear, if I'd known, I know. She's been putting you on the sidelines for years, and I never pushed back hard enough. I thought maybe you just wanted space. But now, I feel like I missed it all. You didn't miss anything, I said. You weren't in the room. Dad was. He just didn't care enough to speak up. That landed. I could feel her pause. Well, she said, tone shifting, that's going to change. I'm throwing a dinner. I blinked. A dinner? Yeah, at the house. I'm bringing in a chef, an actual one, not Costco trays. And I'm inviting people who see you. Friends, clients, neighbors who respect what you've built. No Janice, no fluff. Just a night for you to be front and center like you deserve. I almost smiled. You serious? Dead serious. I'm done watching you get brushed off by people who can't stand to see a woman succeed without their permission. You built something real, Rachel. And people should celebrate that, not shove it behind the wine rack. I leaned against the counter, free hand gripping the edge of the sink. Thanks, I said quietly. She didn't get mushy. That wasn't her. But her voice softened just enough. I've always been proud of you. Even when you were scraping together tools and driving that junky little flatbed, still have it. Don't ever sell it. That truck built your empire. We both laughed, the kind of laugh that finally shook off the weight of the weekend. I'll get the invites out this week, she said, and I'll make sure nobody puts you near a damn pantry. I chuckled. Deal. She paused one last time. You okay now? I looked around my house, my office binder still open on the table, job bids stacked in neat piles, the smell of sawdust faint on my boots. Yeah, I said. I am. 2 weeks later, the envelope showed up on my desk. Same thick paper, same gold-trimmed nonsense. My name spelled out in glossy script like they were addressing royalty, instead of the woman they'd stuffed next to a mop sink. This one was for Dad and Janice's anniversary party. Front cover said, 30 years of love and legacy. Inside, cocktail attire, dinner served at 7, honoring family achievements. Underneath the printed text, in tight loopy handwriting, Janice had added a note. Can't wait to see you. Let's start fresh. Janice? I didn't laugh. Didn't roll my eyes, just stared at the words for a solid 10 seconds. Start fresh. It almost sounded sweet, if I hadn't just eaten salmon alone in a utility closet 2 weeks earlier. I set the invite down, picked up my phone, and called Tina. Yeah? She answered, breathless like she'd just jogged into her office. We washing trucks today? I asked. We can be. What's up? Dad and Janice are throwing another party. Cocktail attire, honoring family achievements. She let out a low whistle. Well, damn. You going? I smiled. Oh, yeah, but we're not showing up quiet this time. Want the Denali again? I want the fleet. Silence, then a sharp, satisfied laugh. Copy that. All 5 trucks? Washed, lined up. Company logos front and center. Front entrance? Of course. Love it. I hung up and looked back at the invitation. Janice's neat handwriting sat there like an olive branch dipped in bleach. Let's start fresh. Fine. But this time, they weren't getting the quiet version of me. No second-tier seat. No downplaying what I've built. If they wanted to honor family achievements, then they were damn sure going to have to stand eye level with mine. And maybe next time Janice planned seating, she'd think twice before sticking a CEO next to the brooms.